Which is the better stock to buy, Micron or NVIDIA? It's a good question, right? Both of them leaders in their respective AI segment. NVIDIA, the hands down leader in the GPU market, the big brand that everybody is aware of. By the way, watch to see what's going to play out on Wednesday, May 20th, when NVIDIA announces earnings. I did a video on that earlier today. You can catch it at the end. There'll be a link somewhere here on the screen. You can catch that video because a lot's going to play out with that. Or is Micron the better AI investment? Look, let's call it what it is. Both of them are leaders in their respective place. NVIDIA, GPUs, Micron in memory. And they're actually not competitors, right? Micron's chips, memory chips, go on the NVIDIA processor, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to look at which is the better one. I own both of them, but I'm always looking at and asking myself, is one going to give me a better return versus the other? We're going to answer that for you. Here we go. Okay. Good stuff about to happen. All right. So again, we all know that NVIDIA dominates the GPU market. Now there are other players, AMD, Broadcom. Each of them has a little bit different angle as far as which chip sector they go after. But NVIDIA is the hands down leader. Okay. So look, we also know that AI data center and AI spending is supposed to go from 700 billion, approximately what it is now, to north of $7 trillion by the early 2030s, 2030, 31, 32. So we are looking at a 10x multiple of just the AI spending alone. Is NVIDIA going to benefit from that? Absolutely. Is Micron going to benefit from that? Absolutely. Okay. Now, what's going on though in the specifically in the memory space? Something you need to be aware of is there's a shortage. There's a shortage of memory chips right now, and the main three players in that market are Micron, SK Hynix, and Samsung. And I've talked about all three on my channel here. By the way, if you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button, turn that bell notification on, because I make videos try to help you make more money in the stock sector, especially AI. So that memory shortage is actually catapulting the price of Micron because it's creating a bottleneck. Okay. So what happens if that memory shortage were to end tomorrow? Would that delineate and make Micron worth less? Because there's some people that would say that memory is a commodity, that if you buy a memory chip from Micron or SK Hynix, that you're getting the same thing. And I'm sure that there's people in the memory AI memory chip sector that would argue that point, but it is essentially a commodity product. Okay. And so NVIDIA, not so much. Their processors are different than AMD's. They have different ways of going about their respective processing and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, but which, if you had to choose, is the better one? And that's what we want to answer. So look, NVIDIA's business is more stable. We all know that. And it's going to drive the GPU market. Okay. Remember though, as NVIDIA grows, a memory manufacturer will grow along with it. So if it's Micron or SK Hynix, which Micron, by the way, is definitely the larger, shareholder of the overall market space, right? But again, it's a commodity based market. So if SK Hynix were to drastically reduce their price or something, or were able to drastically improve the fabrication and produce more, then could they dislodge Micron? Possibly, right? Because again, remember that commoditization scenario. So NVIDIA's business is more stable. All right. So that kind of puts NVIDIA in the lead from that business standpoint. Okay. There isn't a whole lot to separate one memory manufacturer from another. It is a commoditized market. We know that there's a memory shortage. I talked about this already. Everybody is building new fabrication, Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, so to speak. They're all building more fabrication facilities. Okay. Supply will catch up and cause memory prices to crater because again, right now we have a shortage. When a shortage happens, what's happening? The prices have gone up because there's less available. Okay. So once that clears, will Micron's business start to flatline? Possibly. Okay. Now the shortage is not going to end tomorrow. I mean, we still got a while here, year plus or more, for these new fabrication plants to come on. So business edge to NVIDIA. I agree with that. Business is more stable. But look, here we go. NVIDIA's growth is more impressive, but it's nowhere near Micron's. So NVIDIA is doing quite well. Wall Street analysts projecting 79% revenue growth during Q1, 86% during Q2. They're impressive. But look at these numbers for Micron. Micron's growth is expected to go 261% revenue growth and 246 in the quarter after that. Okay. So there's immediately more upside potential possibly for Micron from a pure investment standpoint, because it's running at a much higher growth percentages, 79 and 86% respectively, to 261 and 246. Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. So maybe short term, Micron's the better play. All right. But look, valuing each company is tricky because, again, you're looking at really different segments. They're not competitors. They work together, all that kind of stuff. Micron operates in a commodity market. Stock market usually assigns a lower valuation to the stocks because the cycle can turn against a company. And again, if that commoditization stops, or rather Micron loses market share because of that commoditization, it's a scenario that could play out. NVIDIA trades at a double the price relative price tag of Micron. Investors may question why Micron trades at a discount to NVIDIA when it's growing much faster. The discount is being slowly erased, but I'm unsure if Micron will fully close the gap. Look, here's what it comes down to. There's a tie really maybe in that valuation side, although there is higher opportunity. And it comes down to this. If you want more of a set it and forget it AI investment, NVIDIA probably is your choice. You don't want to manage it. You don't want to look at it because, remember, Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, they operate in this commoditized market. And in that, when those fabrication facilities come online, we could see a scenario play out that the prices for memory start to fall. The prices start to fall. What's going to happen? Revenue is going to fall. Profitability is going to fall. And that could put those valuations and your expected returns on those stocks at a lower price. But here's what I would say to you. I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. I still think you've got a year plus, maybe even 2 years of pretty significant returns coming in from Micron. In the purple, if you want ultimate upside but may have to deal with more volatility and you'll sell before the memory chip market inevitably falls, Micron is a better pick. Here's where it lands for me. I think it lands this way. Own both. Set and forget with NVIDIA. By the way, you should own some of the others, AMD, Broadcom, just saying. And even some smaller GPU players, okay? And there are other guys that I've talked about on my channel. But also own the Microns, own the SanDisks of the world, own some of the smaller memory play companies that have more upside. But also keep in the back of your mind that when the memory chip shortage situation is resolved, those valuations for memory could start to drop, right? And the returns on those stocks could start to drop. So you'll have to watch that and go, okay, I've probably only got a certain amount of runway where I really want to be heavily loaded relatively into memory stocks like Micron and SanDisks. So hopefully that helped you. And if you did get some value out of this, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Name's Austin. I cover this every single day, helping you make more money here in the stock market. See ya. Bye.